So as we proceed with the continuation of the discussion that we had this morning, we will now be going into another category of special openers as we are done with single word special openers. Right after single word special openers, we proceed with phrase special openers. These phrase special openers could be prepositional phrases or participial phrases or infinitive phrases. For prepositional phrases, we shall start with that. Prepositional phrases as special openers. We need to be reminded of the general rule that I've mentioned this morning regarding the use of the comma. The comma is what shall set off that phrase special opener from the rest of the words found in the independent clause. And here, once again, we have a prepositional phrase, which means that it should have a preposition and a receiver of that preposition. For example, during the day. Like this. During the day, students answer the activities in their module. The subject of the sentence is the word students. The verb is answer. It so happens that what we could see first in this sentence is not the subject nor the verb. The sentence is introduced to us using a phrase which is structured by having a preposition and ended with the object of that preposition or the receiver of that preposition. Our prepositional phrase, our special opener is during the day, which by structure is a prepositional phrase. The preposition is during, the receiver of the object is the word day. Another example. In the castle, you will find a sleeping princess. The subject of that sentence is the word you. The verb is will find. What words can we see what words can we find such that these are the words that open our sentence? You have the words in the castle, which means in the castle is our special opener. As a special opener, what are found in that phrase? You have a preposition, the preposition is in, and the receiver or object of that preposition, which is the word castle. So we have a prepositional phrase made to function as a special opener. Another category of phrases that we can use would be the participial phrase. That's the second category, participial phrases. And of course, participial phrases can come in two types. We could have a present participial phrase or a past participial phrase. Participial phrase. Present participial phrases begin with the present participle and the present participle ends in ing. A past participial phrase begins with a past participle, and past participles are structured depending on it being regular or irregular. I think it was mentioned in the discussion this morning as we talked of verbals, single word verbals as special openers. It's just that the verbals that we had this morning get expanded. The single word verbals that we have this morning have now been expanded into becoming phrases. And so we have participial phrases and even the third one, infinitive phrases. Both are verbal phrases. For example, Taking the easy way out, the students chose to submit the output late. The subject of the sentence is the word students, followed by the verb, which is chose. However, those are not the ones that welcome us to the sentence. Those are not the words that begin our sentence. Rather, our special opener is taking the easy way out. Look at the structure of this special opener. It begins with an ing word. And that phrase does not function as the subject. Thus, it's not a gerund. In fact, the subject of the sentence is the word students. And so, how do we try to what term shall we use to identify our special opener? It's an ing. It begins with a word that ends in ing, but it's not acting as a noun. Therefore, it's a present participle. It's not a single word expression. Therefore, it's a present participial phrase. Let's have a past participial phrase. There. Taken by the thief, the bag contains many important documents. What is the subject of the sentence? It's the word bag. What is the verb? Contains. However, again, just like the previous sentences, the sentence is not introduced by the placement of the subject and the verb. Something else opens the sentence for us. And in this statement, it's the phrase taken by the thief. And so we examine the first word of that phrase, taken. Taken is the past participle form of the verb take. It goes as take, took, taken. And since it's not a single word expression, we have rather here a participial phrase, which begins with a past participle. Therefore, it is a past participial phrase, which has been made as the special opener of our sentence. Let's have another sentence. Holding his breath for long, the diver managed to break the record from last year's contest. In this sentence, our subject is diver. Verb, it's managed. Yet, something else opens the sentence for us, and that is our special opener, which in this case is holding his breath for long. It begins with an ing word that does not function as a gerund. Again, it does not function as a gerund because it's not the subject of the sentence, as the subject is diver. And so what function does this special opener, what category of words will this special opener belong? It is a present participial phrase. It's a present participial phrase because it begins with a present participle, holding being the present participle. Questions regarding the participial phrase as a special opener. As we now close the discussion for phrase special openers, we proceed to the third category, and that's the infinitive phrase. Once again, we are reminded of how to construct an infinitive. We should have the preposition to plus the base form of the verb, or the base verb. That's just the infinitive. But what we need to have is an infinitive phrase. Therefore, we shall expand that as to plus the base verb plus the modifier or receiver of that infinitive. To and the base verb, that's what constitutes the infinitive. Adding a modifier or a receiver creates the complete infinitive phrase. For example, the infinitive is to give. That's not a phrase. That's just a single word. That's a single expression taken as a single semantic unit. If we are to expand that into the form of an infinitive phrase, we need to add a modifier or a receiver to give wholeheartedly. Now we have a modifier to give how wholeheartedly. It becomes an infinitive phrase, or to give the box of chocolates. To give what? There is a receiver of the act of giving, and the answer is the box of chocolates. What we did there is to expand the infinitive and transform it into an infinitive phrase by adding a modifier or a receiver to that infinitive. Let's try to use them in a sentence such that the infinitive phrase indeed acts as a special opener. Sentence A. The box of chocolates. Sorry. To give the box of chocolates, the young man called the lady in red to the dining hall. The subject of the sentence is the word man. The and young are modifiers to man. So the subject is man. The verb is called. Yet again, the sentence does not begin with the subject or the verb. It rather begins with a group of words which functions as a special opener. And that special opener is to give the box of chocolates. And once again, you look at its structure. It's even one of the examples that we had earlier. You have an infinitive there, which is to give. The infinitive is expanded into becoming a phrase. It is now an infinitive phrase, indeed used as the special opener of this sentence. Let's have sentence B. To make sure that no one cheats, the teacher installed a camera in the testing room. The subject of the sentence is teacher, the verb is installed. And still, these subject and verb are not the ones that we have used to begin our sentence. Something else opens the sentence for us, and it is in the form of an infinitive phrase. What is our special opener then? You have the phrase, to make sure that no one cheats. What is our infinitive? To make. Modifier to the infinitive. Sure. To make sure of what? That no one cheats. All of those are what's found inside an infinitive phrase. Again, it begins with an infinitive. The rest of the words that are part of that group of words began by or started by an infinitive, they are all part of the complete infinitive phrase. And please look at the comma that is placed after these phrases. The comma sets these phrases off from the independent clause. Without the comma, sorry, the sentence is incorrect. The comma is a requirement. We are allowed to remove the comma only with what kind of special opener? With what kind of special opener are we allowed to remove the comma? With here and there functioning as demonstrative adverbs. Please keep that in mind. Do we have any question regarding phrase special openers? Any question? Before I proceed to the last category, which I think means that we could end the discussion for special openers this afternoon so that on Thursday we could proceed with the checking of your activities or FPs. The last possible category for special openers would be clause special openers. Special openers there. Clause special openers could include only one kind of clause. We are referring here to the adverbial clause. Thus, a dependent clause. We need to use a dependent clause to open our sentence. And this dependent clause by nature shall function as an adverb in your sentence. We cannot make use of an adjective clause or an adjectival clause. Why? Adjectival clause are placed very close to the noun or pronoun. If you want to have a pronoun, it is trying to modify. So we cannot use it and place it far from that word or from that head word. As for adverbial clauses, well, they're actually movable compared to adjectival clauses. They're movable to a point that we can even make them open our sentences. Movable to a point that they're the ones which could appear first, then comes your subject and your verb. For example, by the way, the general rule still applies. If you use an adverbial clause, that adverbial clause must be set off from the independent clause using a comma, only when it is a special opener. But if it's not a special opener, the comma is not a requirement. Let's have one first which functions as special opener. Let's have sentence A. There. Before she decided to leave for Japan, she went to visit all of her relatives. There are two clauses in this sentence. One is independent, the other one is dependent. The dependent clause shall be our concern. But before going into the dependent clause, let's examine first the subject and the verb of the independent clause. The independent clause, which is the sentence here, contains she as the subject and went as the verb. However, those two are not the ones that we could find first in this sentence. We are first introduced to another clause, which is a dependent one by nature. How would we know that it's a dependent clause? What are the requirements for a clause to be called a clause? First, group of words. Subject and verb should be there. And then there's a thought which could either be complete or incomplete. If it's one that completely delivers a thought, therefore it's an independent clause. If the thought is incomplete, it becomes a dependent clause. Also, all dependent clauses begin with a subordinating conjunction. Before functions as a subordinating conjunction or a preposition. It just depends on what comes after the word before. In this case, before is followed by a subject, then eventually followed by a verb, which means that before functions as a subordinating conjunction, not just as a preposition. And so we have a dependent clause indeed, and that dependent clause functions as a special opener. Before she decided to leave for Japan. So earlier I said, if you make use of the dependent clause as a special opener, the comma is a requirement. It's a requirement to set the dependent clause off from the independent clause, only when it functions as a special opener. If you don't want to use it as a special opener, the comma is not a requirement. What I mean by that is this sentence. She went to visit all of her relatives before she decided to leave for Japan. If this is the kind of sentence that you'll construct, the comma is not a requirement. In the first place, you don't have any special opener here. True enough, the sentence is introduced to us with the subject appearing first, followed by the verb. Again, there's no special opener. Where did we place the dependent clause? We placed it after the independent clause. And so the comma is not required. But if you go back to sentence A, where the dependent clause is made to function as a special opener, once again, the general rule prevails. The comma is a requirement to set off the special opener from the independent clause. Another sentence, sentence B. While they are trying to gather more fruits, the ones in the house have started to prepare the table. The subject of the sentence is once. Verb, have started. Where can we see once and have started? In the independent clause. And the independent clause in sentence B is placed after the dependent clause, because our dependent clause has been made as the special opener. So our special opener is while they are trying to gather more fruits. And it is a dependent clause, adverbial in nature. How would we know that it's adverbial? Once again, we remind ourselves, what's an adverb? What are its concerns? It talks of the when, the where, the how, the why. For anything that it's not related to the what kind or what type, that's the focus of the adverb. Let's go back to sentence A. Sentence A. Before she decided to leave for Japan, she went to visit all of her relatives. When did she go to visit all of her relatives? There's a question where. When? The answer is before she decided to leave for Japan. And I think we can also ask the same question word for sentence B. When have the ones in the house started to prepare the table? While they are trying to gather more fruits. While there are those who are still trying to gather more fruits. So true enough, we have adverbial clauses used as special openers in these two sentences, plus the 3 sentences that you have in your module. So now we have 5. Because the crowd was really rude. The concert, that's not concerned. The concert was made to end early. Our special opener there answers the question why. Why was the concert made to end early? Because the crowd was really rude. Why? Again, a reason that's a concern of an adverb. When it started to rain, everyone in the venue slowly left the grounds and proceeded to find some shelter. When did everyone in the venue slowly leave the grounds and proceed to find some shelter? When it started to rain. Another concern of an adverb. Number 3. After the actress signed the posters, she hurriedly left for another conference and autograph session. When did she hurriedly leave for another conference and autograph session? Right after the actress signed the posters. Our dependent clause has answered a concern that falls onto the hands of an adverb. And so the dependent clause, true enough, functions as an adverb. It's an adverbial clause, taking on the special opener role of the sentence. Any question? Any question? If there's none, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much, grade 10. Goodbye, and thank you. See you on Thursday for the checking of the FTs.
Goodbye.
Bye.